Now, before I start, the first thing I'd like to say, is this bill good or bad? Should we allow people to access assisted dying in the NHS? Now, to answer that question, I'm totally unsure, because it's such a complex matter. And because it's such a complex matter, which could lead to totally different understandings of the bill, should it pass, by those who will carry out the bill, it does need a lot of debate, and across not just Parliament, but I believe across the nation. And what happens, it happens with most politics, when someone wants to push something through Parliament, they pull in quangos, etc., to justify their position. That's what happens. That's what quangos do. So it's worth looking at who is driving this legislation and potentially why. And that concerns me. It concerns me quite a bit. There's been a lot of good work done on this by Charlotte Gill on Twitter, and give her a great shout out for the work she's put into this. An intelligent woman looking at this with quite a wide spectrum there, I need to be honest with you. She doesn't seem closed, but she's finding some amazing facts about this whole drive to get assisted dying bill passed. And I think it's worth discussion. So who is pushing it through? Well, Kim Leadbeater is the MP who put the the proposal on the table. And she is a chair of a group called More in Common. And More in Common are strong advocates for this getting passed, as you would imagine. And they and other groups, for example, what are they called again? Campaign for Dignity in Dying. They seem to use a poll as a massive reason why MPs should vote for this. And they're telling everybody that across Britain, every parliamentary constituency in Great Britain is backing assisted dying. And that's quite a claim. And they're putting out big maps of the United Kingdom and highlighting in red every constituency that supports it, and how strongly, from 50% up to 85%. They make claims such as 3/4 of respondents said they would support making it lawful for someone to seek assisted dying in the UK, with only 14% against it. The support changing the law is consistently high regardless of voters' political affiliation. So what they're actually saying here is, to MPs, it's all right, your constituency want this. And they're also saying it doesn't matter what rosette colour you've got on, because all voters want this. And I'm not sure if that's true. It might be, but I'm not convinced with the data presented so strongly. And the reason for that is, when we break down and look at this poll, two things. One, it was an online poll. Now, I can't remember seeing it online. So who was being driven to the poll, and by whom? I'll give an example. If I put up a poll on my Twitter feed saying, should Scotland be part of the United Kingdom, I know before I actually click, to start that poll, that the result will be an overwhelming Scotland should remain in the UK, because I am a unionist, and the majority of people I talk to, or a lot of people who follow me on Twitter, will be unionists. So it's not ridiculous to think that if I ask people to take part in the poll, the result would probably be able to be guessed before the poll starts. So that's a question we need answered. Who drove these 10,000 participants to this poll? Because if it was people like assisted dying, etc., then obviously you're going to get an overwhelming result if it was people with More in Common or Dignity in Dying that were driving people to this online survey. And the other thing that we need to challenge is the claim that it's every constituency, because it's doubtful that every constituency created a poll. So then we look at Opinium, that's the company that ran this poll, and then they explain how they came about their results. And guess what? They didn't use the MRP system, which basically says, well, if somebody in Southport said this, the chances of somebody in Newcastle or Glasgow or Edinburgh or Shetland saying this are X, Y, or Z. So it's not necessarily that they spoke to people in every constituency. I think it's highly probable that they didn't. But when they use that formula, then it allows them to paint a picture that may or may not be true. Multi-level regression with post-ratification, that's MRP. So these claims, I feel, are a bit inaccurate, but I'm prepared to listen to someone telling me why I should believe them to be accurate. And they've been used to drive the narrative that everybody says it's all right, so don't be scared to vote on it. So the next thing that's weird is who's been driving this? Who's been putting it in front and centre? Now, as I said earlier, this has been driven really well by Charlotte Gill on Twitter. And she done a fantastic video about the adverts all over the underground in London. And this is really bizarre, because there's two things that are bizarre about this. You know the way just now, if you look at an advert for a Christmas for a department store, the actors that are used, the models that are used, tend to be from all different races. They try and paint a picture of genders and sexuality and etc. and try and get a sort of cross blend of society. And it's very, very rare to see a white male, for example, someone of my complexion and age and sexuality in adverts these days. But when Charlotte Gill went round the London Underground, she found that every single advert was white people telling you that assisted dying is a good thing. Now that's weird, right? That's quite a strange thing. That's probably a video on its own, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But the other thing that she found out was every single advertising board was on an advertising board owned by Global Media. Now, before we cover who Global Media is, if you imagine LBC, quite a left-bearing media outlet, they've been very comfortable with telling everybody about these polls and suggesting that this bill should be passed. And they'll show balance by interviewing somebody for the other side. But the actual articles, the broadcasters, seem to be weighed to one side of the argument. Which is even weirder when you consider that these posters that are all white, that have now been splattered all around the underground system as Parliament's about to debate and make decisions, and I think a lot of MPs that would be voting would probably be travelling along these underground tunnels to go to work, to vote on the thing. And every single one is on a billboard area owned by Global Media, who also own LBC. So it seems that there's some people quite keen to get this global media message across as everybody wants it. And that might not be the case. Now, they're saying that 75% of the UK public want this. Well, go and speak to a group of 5 of your friends, because you should find about 4 of them should be into this. And I think the default setting is, I'm not so sure. But these polls would have you believe that 75% are 100% sure we should have it, and 14% of the population are kind of don't want it, and there's a chunk in the middle who are unsure. And I can't see the figures. I can't see the figures when I talk to people. I talk to a lot of people. and it's nowhere near that. I believe the biggest majority are, like myself, the people who are unsure, because we can see benefits in it, but we can also see pitfalls. And the pitfalls are not actually the legislation when it is passed. The pitfalls of legislation when it's carried out, an interpretation of legislation. Because right now, it is illegal to commit suicide in the United Kingdom. This bill would have to make that legal. And then once that's legal, the floodgates are open, interpretations and challenges will come from all directions to suit all different things. And I can just Google what's happening in Canada just now. Some horrific stories of the people who are being potentially coerced into ending their life early. And that's not a society I want to be part of. So if this is a good thing, and if this is what the country wants, then we need really strong debates on how we do it, or it'll be open to interpretation, and God knows how bad it'll get then. But it's a very, very tough topic, but I believe the narrative being driven is totally inaccurate. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and notification bell. Please give me your comments below, I always like them. But most importantly of all, unless you're this gang of people that are desperate to drive the narrative of UK politics when it's not particularly the opinion of the majority of people in the UK, not you, but
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.